Welcome to Awakening, the podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Heather Christian Strang. You can call me Dr. Christian or Dr. HK. And today we are bringing to you your April 2022 Oracle reading. This is the wisdom from Mary Magdalene, Yeshua, all of the highest light, Source herself, when I asked, what is the message my email swirl most needs to hear and know? My podcast listeners, what do they most need to know so that they can have a truly extraordinary April of 2022 and so that they can live their highest destined path? Yes, there is a highest destiny that you can experience. There are many scenic routes, and many of us have spent many incarnations living those scenic routes, but there is the highest life stream. There is that highest intention, and by highest we mean deepest, truest, most authentic intention that you set for yourself when you incarnated into this form. And so everything that I do in the world is to support those who are called to me and to assist them in aligning with that highest life stream, with that truest, most authentic intention and the truest, most authentic version of themselves, which is the true self, and to live that in this incarnational experience. Because that heals lifetimes of pain and suffering and lifetimes of incarnating onto lower planes of consciousness, and it heals the ancestral line. It heals the lineage going forwards and backwards. So today we are bringing you the message that Mary Magdalene, Yeshua, all of the highest light, my higher self, Source herself most wants you to have, so that April can truly be a time of you living as the true you and living the most authentic expression of yourself here on earth. Are you ready? So I invite you to be somewhere where you can be in receiving mode. Now, you can certainly listen to this when you're driving or cleaning house or doing chores or whatever it is. And you can have a truly beautiful, expanded experience if you are in a meditative state, if you're in some kind of receiving state. Maybe you're just laying down to take a nap and you just want to have something to soothe you into, because this will take you into a nice alpha state if you allow it, a nice healing state, and then you can drift off into a deep slumber, or you can listen to this as you're meditating. And I recommend on the first listen of these transmissions to always do that. And then future listens you can do when you're cleaning the house or driving the car or doing whatever it is. So, of course, tune into what feels most authentic for you. But I really want to invite you to close your eyes and just allow yourself, as long as you're not driving or operating any sort of equipment, close your eyes and allow yourself to really receive this message, this blessing that Mary Magdalene, Yeshua, my higher self, all of the highest light, and Source herself has for you. We have given much to you about this time that you are living in, its importance, your role in it, and now we're going to give you some more. You understand now that you have been living in what would be called a dark age. You understand now that the shadow of the human animal has been so fully present and out, so to speak, for the pure and unadulterated purpose of evolution, for the purpose of ascension, for the purpose of returning to your and all's natural state, which is the state of love. The state of living in a golden age, as it were. The state of living your truest, fullest expression while in a physical body, harming no one and no thing. Living in full harmony with all of life, in sacred union with your holy divine beloved, in loving support of all that surrounds you and all that is. And so from what we have shared with you in concert with your own higher wisdom, you know that you have come here before, and many of you have been to this plane many, 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 many times. This plane that you call Earth has held the frequency of what is known as darkness, of fear, of survival, of lack, and of scarcity. It has and can be referred to as a plane that has been enveloped in the dark ages. And you have come here attempting to heal others, attempting to make things quote unquote better, attempting to do things that actually put you in a place of disempowerment and thus did not allow you to evolve up and out of this plane, but rather kept you coming back again and again to make right what had felt and does feel so wrong to you. And we're going to tell you that while you may feel disdain over this information, you can be rest assured that always in every incarnation, more love and source light came in through your presence and your focus, anytime that was your intention and focus. For every time you are focused on bringing more love and source light, and you do what is necessary to allow yourself to embody that love and source light, then more of both aspects will be present. And now we're going to tell you even more. As you continue to expand the love and source light within yourself, as you continue to let go of the old thought forms and beliefs and fears and traumas that have kept you in a darkness that is unnecessary for you, now you have the supreme opportunity of living in a golden age while upon this earth plane. Now, some of you have been doing this already. Some of you are living such glorious lives and such glorious manifestations that you say, really? Terrible things are happening? I hadn't noticed. And you hadn't noticed because you were vibrating at a frequency that was not in unison with that which was vibrating for the greater majority. And so we want to clarify even further for you here. We want you to know that your inevitable trajectory is to live as though you are in a golden age, even though the collective is not in one yet. It's coming, but it is not here yet. Now we know some of you are raising your hands eager with questions because yes, there is shadow, there is darkness or wounds within each of you. There are aspects that are desiring your transmutation. All of this is true. It is true. And you can tend to these areas when they arise. And once you feel at peace with them, go back to your love-filled living. Previously, you may have been living in denial, acting as though everyone else had the quote-unquote problem, and sure that you were not a part of it in any way. Now you understand. Oh yes, I have had aspects of shadow, of wounds, of pain, of darkness too, to evolve forward. And now you understand that as you do so, you can immediately return to living in your golden age, in a vibrational frequency that is not containing anything other than love and source light. So do you see this balanced, grounded placement we have taken you to? Can you see how the going through the shadow within is imperative to living in the authentic, pure love and light of source? That when you are avoiding or denying, that does not make those vibrations within you that are not full of love cease to be. It just holds them in that steady place that they are in. But when you take the actions forward, when you dive into the emotional and spiritual alignment necessary, and then return to the love and source, even more of you becomes love. And now you are having quite a different experience with all that flows to you. We are bringing it full circle here for you, as your empowerment is what is facilitating you in receiving these next pieces of wisdom. You are ones who are here to live in the love and light of source, not in denial. Not in denial of what is, not in denial of aspects within that are not of the highest light, but in loving understanding of them, tending to them, and then transmuting them through your alignment with living in the highest light that is available to you. And so, today, and all days for the month of April, I will add, you can ask yourself, how may I take whatever this is to love? How may I show up in love? How may I take this lower frequency within me or around me and show up for it free from limiting beliefs and pains and fears and traumas? And then you must take the actions for this, our dear ones. You must take the actions through this aligned state. And when you do, you will be vibrating in such a way that you will be astounded by what happens next. More on that to come. For now we will say, you are blessed, you are loved, and you are right on time. Your prayer for this month is this. Beloved, all that is, I come before you today willing to see what within me wishes to be tended to, willing to be brought the salves to the wounds, so that in doing so I may return to my true nature of love more fully. I ask that I allow this transmutation to occur with ease and grace and joy and peace. I ask that I return to love on this divine day. Thank you, and so it is. It is so. Take a nice deep breath here. This transmission comes to you from our book, Love Now, Your Daily Dose of Love and Miracles. So, we are en route to the next golden age, as the transmission shared with you. And we are not living for some future event. We are not expecting some savior to come and bring that future event to us. No. We have grown in our wisdom. We are the creators and the creatrixes who create the golden age in our own life now. So that's your work. Your work is to continue to show up for everything within you that is not aligned with Source, and to be with it. Because we know through the power of quantum physics that is active here on this earth plane, that just when you observe something, it begins to shift. And then when you use a holy divine healing practice, which we have many available to you, self-healing practice, you dissolve it. You dissolve it. You transmute it. You become more of who you really are. And you love all of the aspects of yourself. And through that loving, what did we hear in the transmission? Through that loving, you become more Source. You become more of who you really are. Now, there are many in the fourth dimension and in other dimensions of consciousness that would say that this is some sort of disconnected quest for perfection. And what we want you to know is that that is said because those ones are disconnected from Source, because what you know is that you are perfect already, because the imperfection is the perfection that is baked into the cake of the earth. And so it is not about being in a without flaw state or some kind of, certainly not a disconnected from Source state. It is a connected from Source state. It is a connected with Source state. And when you are connected with Source, those aspects of shadow, of disconnection from Source, you show up for them so much differently. You just love. And that love has a transformative power. And so what you recognize is that all things are Source at the core. And all things, our focus for 2022 for Mary Magdalene and the team is immense love. But you can't feel that when you're judging it. You can't feel that when you're making everyone else wrong for how they believe. Or you can't feel that if you're making yourself wrong for what you're feeling and what you're observing within yourself. So this is not about you becoming something you are not. This is about you returning to who you really are. And the path to that return is love. Right? So your work this month is, let's go back to these questions here that we were given. How may I take whatever this is to love? How may I show up in love? How may I take this disconnected from Source frequency within me or around me and show up for it, free from limiting beliefs and pains and fears and traumas? So just how can I show up for whatever this is with love? It's a beautiful transmutation that takes place there. So it's no longer about chasing anything. You're not trying to get anywhere. You're not waiting for the Savior. You're not waiting for the golden age. You are creating it in your own life through the pathway of love. That's how that happens. It's so powerful. Now, if you're disconnected from source, this is very irritating. And there are those who are like, well, I'm just going to be okay with whatever is happening within me and around me. And I'm going to just let that be enough. And that's a beautiful place to be because it's a step closer to love, right? When we release that judgment and we go neutral on the judgment of whatever is not connected to the light, we have a very different experience then. And then the next step from that is, how can I just love this, right? Like, that is some not pretty stuff within me right now. How can I just love this? And just by doing that and just by asking that question, you become more of who you really are, which is light. So by now, spoiler alert, you incarnated onto an earth plane that's embroiled in a spiritual war, right? The agenda was hijacked. This was not the original intention for the earth. The earth was always going to have the dualistic plane, but things got a little expanded beyond what we thought and contracted beyond what we thought was going to happen because of free will choices that were made by other humans. And so you're here and you're here to return to who you really are. And there's all kinds of schools of thought and all kinds of stories and all kinds of belief systems. Doesn't matter which one you choose. Just make sure it's returning you back to who you really are, which is love, which is source, which is light. When you're connected to love, when you're connected to source, you don't harm anyone or anything. You're in peace. You're in acceptance. You're in knowing. It is the way that you're meant to live. So there's no trying to get to anything. You're simply returning home to who you are. And the pathway home is to look at everything within you that is not love. And I don't mean like you have to go looking for it. It will show itself to you, right? If you've been on this earth for any number of years, your stuff will show itself. It'll show itself most prominently in the relationships you have with others. They're such great reflectors of what still wants to be up-leveled and loved within yourself. So it's a really simple pathway when you think of it like that in this very seemingly complex experience here on earth. Just when you become aware of, oh yeah, there's distortion within me, there's not love within me. How can I transform this and transmute this into love? And again, just myself alone with my spiritual team, we've created all of these amazing healing tools. You have the Activate Your Highly Sensitive Superpowers guide. You can take any distortion you have, take it through those 4 steps, and you dissolve it. And you return to love. You return to source. So easy. It's so easy. We promise you that. So this month, how can you love whatever it is? What actions do you need to take to transmute the pain, the limiting belief, the fear, the trauma? We invite you to bring our toolkit, our guide, Activate Your Highly Sensitive Superpowers guide. Because what happens, why is it called that? Because when you release these limiting beliefs, fears, traumas, pains, guess what happens? You're back to your superpowered self. When you're in your trauma, your wounds, your pains, your limiting beliefs, your fear, not superpowered. You couldn't create to save your life. Look at your life. Your life will tell you what needs to be loved back into wholeness. Where are you not able to create powerfully? Where do you have to try so hard? That lets you know. It's beautiful. It's baked into the cake. I love cake. Maybe that's why I love that cliche term. But really, it's so much easier than we think. So this month, how can I love this? How can I love whatever this is that's showing itself within me? How may I take whatever this is to love? How can I show up for it in love? How may I take this disconnected from source frequency within me and show up for it free from limiting beliefs and pains and fears and traumas? And we're saying really easy. You start asking the question immediately through the power of quantum physics, which is, there we go, baked into the cake of this earth plane experience. It'll start to shift. Then use your tools. We've got Activate Your Highly Sensitive Superpowers guide. You have a 4-step process. bam, bam, bam. You just I've been doing this weekly, multiple times a week since 2015. Doing this process, clear it out, dissolve it, clear it out, dissolve it. If there's something that's really sticky, really, really, really like deep there within you, like I'm not enough, which is one of the most common core wounds. I would say I have not worked with a soul in 12 years that doesn't have some aspect of I'm not enough within. If it's a really deep one like that, then you go see a practitioner. We have our sacred spirituality coaches that we're training. You can work with someone that can take you through that process and dissolve it. This is an interdependent. How we create the next golden age is not soloing. It's interdependenting. So we have our tools and our processes, and when we hit a bump or we hit like, ooh, this is a deep one, we bring on one of our light brothers and sisters to support us. Because what did Yeshua tell us? Where two or more are gathered in my name, what happens? Miracles. I live it every single day. Miracles. I have been leading, facilitating, whatever you want to call it, being a channel for Source in healing sessions since 2010. Every day. Miracles when you call on the highest light frequencies. Absolute miracles. So you have your focus for April. You have your tools, your next steps, what you need to do so that you can allow yourself to be willing to see what is not love within you and then transmute it to love. How perfect. Let's just take this 1 month at a time, shall we? Just 1 month at a time. We're not trying to figure everything out about 2022, although we had our annual reading, so you could always go back to that if you want to know more about 2022, and it was extraordinary. But let's take it 1 month at a time. This is your focus for this month. This is what you're going to do. So easy. So easy. Don't be distracted. The artificial matrix wants you distracted, okay? So anything that's in the mainstream, just question it. Go to your sacred heart. Does this feel authentic to me? Does this feel true? Don't let your energy leak there. That's the whole play of the artificial matrix. Right? If you can leak enough energy to the mainstream organizations, focus areas, media, entertainment, then you are not going to stay connected to Source. You can't. Those are two separate dealios that are happening, right? So the more you disconnect from the artificial matrix, the more of your innate Source power returns to you, and the more you can powerfully co-create your golden age in your life now. All right, I love you so much. Thank you for being here on Earth at this time. If this oracle reading and this podcast episode was of benefit to you, please feel free to forward it to someone you love. Go to sacred-spirituality.org to receive a free sacred love transmission from Mary Magdalene through me, as well as a golden age visualization meditation. Join us every Sunday at 11 a.m. 11 a.m. your local time. You don't have to be in Pacific time. We do that golden age visualization meditation every Sunday at 11 a.m. There are Sunday unity meditations happening all over the earth on Sundays at 11 a.m. Whatever your local time is. So join us for that. You can go to sacred-spirituality.org to receive that free golden age visualization meditation. If you'd like to get our Activate Your Highly Sensitive Superpowers guide, go to sacred-spirituality.org, click on trainings, and you'll see our sacred trainings there to support you on your sacred journey. May infinite blessings of Source be with you. And so it is. It is so. Until next time.